How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about and reviewing, basically summarizing the podcast between Joe Rogan and Randall Carlson. Now, Randall Carlson, he's been on before a couple of times throughout the years. My favorite podcasts are with him and Graham Hancock talking about the comet impact, the lost civilization. Him and Graham are great. And, it's actually funny because Joe only posted one video this week. He did like the apology video for Spotify or whatever. So I started going back. I started listening to Graham Hancock, John Anthony West, and getting all into that again. And that's what originally got me into this podcast was hearing Graham on there. And, tonight he uploaded and, it was with Randall Carlson, which I was terribly excited. So let's get into it. It starts off, he introduces Randall. They brought the first hour. They talk about Plato's theory of Atlantis and where it might be located. It looks like it's where he thinks it might be located is basically in the middle of America and Europe, kind of on some sort of plateau over there. Obviously, it's underwater. And he talks about how he did a 18-hour, 6-part or 9-part series going through line by line what Plato was talking about and how it, kind of breaking down what Plato's theory about Atlantis was and how it kind of ties into the impact theory of the lost civilization. He might not be wrong, but who knows? But it was a long time ago. But either way, the second hour, he goes through a bunch of slides of, the giant ice sheet that was on North America, because that's what Randall, he's a specialist on. He believes North America was under this huge ice sheet. It melted rapidly, thousands and millions of cubic gallons all over the place, destroyed and refaced what our nation looks like. And he goes through a bunch of slides for about, the second hour. And it looks pretty cool. And if you ever watched ice melt, like a sheet of ice melting on your lawn or anything like that, it kind of looks like that's what happened to America, which we all know about. But it's not as widely accepted how rapidly it happened. That's where the comet theory comes in. Dr. Robert Schoch is another guy that kind of helps them out with their theory here, and he thinks it was from a solar flare. Who knows what it could be? And in the third hour, they they kind of wrap up talking about the impact theory, and they kind of start getting into something else, which I think is pretty cool and something that should be talked about is the how they bring up global warming and how people are so focused about the damage we're doing to the earth, and they both agree. Obviously, we could be pulling back a little bit, but what Randall was describing is, obviously we should recognize that, but the main focus, which no one's talking about, is all these catastrophes that's been happening throughout the 4 billion years Earth has been around. Apparently some big event happened 264 million years ago, obviously the dinosaur event, all these comet impacts, the Tunguska event from 1900s in, Siberia, and how we pass through the Taurid meteor stream twice a year still, and how no one is really doing anything about it. And, we're all focused on, our carbon emission, how we could lessen it. Obviously, there's a lot we could do to help our planet from deteriorating, but he brings up the fact that, you tell me, do we talk about, or are we prepared for any comet or asteroid impact? Any sort of solar flare or anything like that? I don't think so. And he brings up a pretty good point. Randall, he said this, I forget which podcast. Maybe it was the one with him and Graham on it. Maybe it was the one with him and Michael Shermer and Graham Hancock. But either way, he brings up the fact that global warming is better than global cooling. And I always thought that was pretty cool that he said that, because it is true. Global warming is better and life does prosper more when the earth is warmer. And, we don't want another ice age. Us losing a little bit of our shores is nothing compared to another ice age. Obviously, that's not to say we shouldn't worry about global warming, but he made the argument that years ago, I think it was some sort of plague or something like that, or basically in the medieval times, it was actually warmer then, and when it's warmer, we advance as a civilization more, which, I could see that, because when it's warm outside, you want to be outside. Innovation comes. When it's cold, you just want to hunker down and stay to the bare minimum. So he brings that up, and also towards the end, he's starting this. It's like a program or some sort of school he wants to do with. He's got a few partners on it, but where it's basically taking kids, the public school systems that we have now. It's sit down, shut up, listen, and schools got so big. When Randall was in school, it was just one classroom. His father, it was one classroom. Things were smaller, things were more. Just connected. Everyone's more connected. They all had like the same teachers throughout, for a long time. But he's trying to start this school where it gets kids into nature more and more hands-on learning. And I think that's a pretty good idea. So he kind of wrapped up and ended with that. But I love Randall Carlson. Like I said, him and Graham Hancock is the reason why I started listening to Joe years ago. And I was very excited tonight to. I'm glad he had him on, because I've been thinking for the past few years, like he had Graham Hancock on last year, the year before, with someone. It was he wasn't talking about the impact theory, but he was partnered with someone that was talking about doping alcohol or something like that, or basically hallucinogenics back in the day, how they used it, and during the times of the Bible, and how there's a deep history with using hallucinogenics, which Graham Hancock, he's all about that too. But I wanted I wanted Joe to have Graham and Randall again, because that's what really sparked my interest with Joe and listen to his podcast. And I'm glad he was able to bring Randall on, because it's just really great to think maybe history isn't what we thought. Graham Hancock famously says that we're a civilization with amnesia. And they argue that, there's these cataclysmic events that happen every so often, and it kind of restarts history. And, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we were something else before. If you think about Egyptians and with the discovery of Göbekli Tepe, they made some pretty cool, massively amazing things back then. And who's to say, just because they didn't have television or computers, they weren't so great. We think about them as primitive, but they're making the argument about that something else great could have been before. It's just not what it's evolved to now. And this podcast, it was great. It was I give it a 9 out of 10. But let me know what you think about it. And this is your little summary review, because to commit to a 3-hour podcast, it's a lot. But what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start reviewing Joe's podcast. I listen to him throughout the day when I'm at work. And at night, I'll do a little video and let you know if you should be watching them and what they're about. So either way, this one I give it a 9 out of 10. I love Randall. It's great. And it's nothing. If you listen to them before, it's nothing groundbreaking, because discoveries like this, they take years and years and years. So don't expect any crazy new knowledge. It's basically a summary and maybe a few tidbits of new information there. But, it was still great to see Randall on and kind of him talk about, this other venture he's getting into with that school. But yeah, give it a 9 out of 10. Let me know what you think. Definitely one to check out. And, thank you, and I'll see you later.